speak to Julien Hoez, who's a policy analyst at the think tank, The Vocal Europe. Thanks for being with us. So the EU have managed to come up with a list of names, but as Tusk was pointing out, the Parliament might not endorse them. How likely is it that the Parliament would vote against this package of names?
Well, honestly, we can never quite tell what exactly is going to happen because, in effect, you have to consider whether the Parliament is going to take its duties as the Parliament very seriously, which in some cases of MEPs, they will take it incredibly seriously and try to effectively move back towards Weber, move back towards Timmermans, maybe even towards Vestager, who was one of the original Spitzenkandidaten for ALDE, despite the confusion surrounding their choice. It all depends on what happens next and how likely certain wings are to support this. For example, from what I've seen, all of these candidates are all very much liberals. They're all very much either to the left of centre or very slightly to the right of centre. And it depends entirely on what the choices are within the Parliament and what negotiations happen overnight and throughout the course of this evening.
Yeah, because I suppose that one of the things that is held against von der Leyen by people in Europe who don't like the idea of a more federalist Europe or things like kind of moving towards a European army and those kind of ideas, they're already sort of using the federalist word in a kind of insulting way rather than a polite way.
Yes, of course. And I mean, in regards to people like the Brexit Party, or if you look at the Europeans for the Direct Democracy or the identitarian wing of the European Parliament, you'll see that they'll, regardless of what happens, they're likely to take that sort of stance and try to spin whatever's happening in regards to it being more federalist, regards to it being more supranational, in regards to it being an appointment that would remove people and remove power from the nation states and move it towards the European Union. That's going to happen regardless of who's chosen. Even if Weber was chosen, many people would have probably said, oh, he's working for Europe, he's not working for the people, he's not working for the people who elected him, he's not working for us, so therefore he's a federalist, he's the enemy. It's likely to happen regardless.
How damaging is it, though, for Europe to not be able to come up with an agreement on these top jobs that easily and for it to look like there's lots of horse trading going on?
Well, the problem is that a lot of what happens, for example, in national politics, look at what happens in England or France or even Scotland, which is reputed to have a high standard of democratic action. There's a lot of horse trading that happens regardless, behind the scenes, throughout parliamentary mandates, throughout presidential mandates. It all depends on the circumstances of that current political situation. The European Union, of course, is very specific in that it has 27 nation states, 28 currently with the UK, that make up the totality of the decisions, and therefore there is going to be a slight bit more friction than where it just be a single national country. However, I don't think it's damaging, insofar as it wouldn't be damaging if the European Parliament chose instead to say, no, we're going to stick by the Spitzenkandidaten process, we're going to enforce our choice of candidates, and we're going to make sure that the Council effectively handles its own duties and leaves the selection of these roles to us. It's also not damaging that heads of states are pushing their preference forward themselves, because in effect the Council has a right to do this according to the legislature. It all depends on how it's spun by whatever party. However, of course, the ideal scenario is that they select someone quickly, they fill the top roles, and if we look at the names here, they're all very qualified people, they've all held office, they've all worked in high stress situations, they've all negotiated through crises. So in effect, it all depends on how combative the Parliament is feeling right now and where many MEPs decide to go from here.
OK, Julien Hoez, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts.
Thank you.